In this video, I'll share with you one thing that I wished I had learned sooner when I started my career within Facebook ads. When I was starting out, I had no clue what this even was and that it was possible to run ads like this. So in this video, I'll show you a very simple strategy you can use to just make sure that you force your Facebook ad campaigns to stay profitable while you're scaling. One very common issue for advertisers is when you're starting to increase your budget, you start to lose profitability at some point. So the increase that you do on your budget is not linear with the increase in results at some point. They usually drop off, and that's where it usually stops to make sense to scale further. So this issue is exactly what I'm going to be talking about in this video, and I'm going to show you how we're solving it and how you can do it as well with this very simple strategy. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Ole. I've been working with Facebook ads for the last 5 years, helping multiple different businesses all around the world get much better results for their campaigns. And this YouTube channel is just where I share the lessons that I learned along the way and share that for free with you guys. So if you're interested in seeing more like this, you should definitely click the subscribe button. So let's get right into it. So right now, as you can see, I'm inside one of my example ad accounts, and I'm just going to use this one to illustrate to you how to set up this strategy. So the first thing I've gone is just like I've just set up new campaign here. As you can see on the campaign level, just set it up very simply as sales campaign, and advantage campaign budget is turned off. This is previously known as campaign budget optimization. It just simply means that you select the daily budget on the campaign level. So if you have it on the campaign level, it would spread your budget across the available ad sets that you have according to what will give you the best or the most results based on what you set as the objective for the campaign. So in simple words, that just means that when you set the budget on the campaign level, the algorithm will decide where to put that budget, so which ad sets are going to get the most of that budget. Now we're going to leave that one ticked off for now, and just going to click next, and then you'll get to the ad set level. So this is obviously where you put in the targeting, but you also put in the conversion objective and the bid strategy, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on in this video. So as you can see here, under performance goal, I want to maximize the number of conversions that I get, and for me, that is getting people to schedule a meeting with me. In your case, that could be that you want to get sales or leads or anything else, but most likely you're going to want to optimize for the purchase event if you're running e-commerce. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I just have a bit of a different objective than what most advertisers do have because I'm running a marketing agency. So as you can see under here, you have cost per result goal, and you can also see that this one is optional. Now, if you leave this one open and you go ahead and publish the whole campaign, as you can see here under bid strategy, right now by default, I have the highest volume bid strategy. Now, what this means is that I'm selecting a daily budget, as you can see right here, 160 kroners, and I want Facebook to spend all of that money and just get me as many conversions as possible, regardless of how many that is. So I'm not saying anything about the profitability or the cost per purchase or per conversion event that I need. I'm just simply saying, hey, spend this money, just get me as much conversions as you possibly can. Now, the problem here is very obvious. If you have a profitability goal that you need to hit, you only have a certain cost per purchase or per conversion event that you can afford. And this bid strategy is risky because if you don't hit that goal, or you have a few days where it's still spending all your money, but you're not getting results, you can very quickly lose a lot of money, which is a big deal for a lot of advertisers. So this is why I generally don't use highest volume anymore for any of our clients. The only situation where we use highest volume is generally if we want to force spend into a new product or a new product launch, or we just want to get some impressions and get some exposure of something new, and we don't immediately expect profitability back. We have more a long-term vision for it. But for a lot of advertisers, that's not going to be super relevant. You need to be profitable on almost like a day-to-day or week-by-week basis. So that's why I also don't recommend going with highest volume in most situations. Now, since we probably agree that highest volume bid strategy isn't always the best one to go with, let's go back into the ad set and look at the alternatives that we have. All right, so let's scroll back down to where we saw cost per result goal. So if we look at the information that Facebook gives regarding the cost per result goal setting, you can see here that if you don't set a cost per result goal, Meta will focus on spending your entire budget and getting you the most results. That is all good and great, but if you're not being profitable and they're not able to get you as many results as you need, then why do you still want to spend all your daily budget? You probably shouldn't. And that's why I highly recommend to put in the cost per result goal. Now, the thing that happens when you use this, and this is formally known as a cost cap, if I say put in 100 kroner as my cost per result goal. So my goal is to get 100 kroner per meeting scheduled with me. In that case, what usually will happen is that over time, the algorithm is going to try to average my cost per result down to 100 kroner. It does not mean that every day I'm going to get 100 kroner per result, but over time it's going to try to average it out. And on the good days when the algorithm sees a lot of potential, it will try to max that out and get as many conversions for lower costs, lower than 100 kroners as possible. And on some days when the results aren't good, it's going to reduce how much I'm spending, and it's probably not going to spend all of the daily budget that I put on the ad set level. So as you can see now, I put in 100 kroner and the bid strategy is changed to cost per result goal. So now I'm actually going to show you what you can expect when you start using the cost per result goal bid strategy. Because it's not so intuitive, it takes a bit of patience, and you need to understand how it works in order to fully maximize the results you can get from it. So I'm going to show you an ad account here from one of our clients. This is an e-commerce client, and we started this campaign with highest volume, but then immediately we switched it over to a CPA goal, or cost per result goal. And as you can see, we started off, if you look at the history here, you can see that when we started the campaign in the middle of January, it was first highest volume, but then we just switched over to cost per result goal because we agreed on using that one instead. And as you can see here, we started with 100 kroner, but then we immediately switched that to 238 kroners per result. So that was our initial goal. And as you can see, when we switched it from 100 to 238, you can see that the amount of results are increasing a lot. So January 23rd, we start increasing in volume, we're scaling up, we're getting a lot more purchases. Some days, 20 plus, 30 plus purchases. But then we realized around this point that, yeah, we're getting volume, but we need better profitability in order to make things work. So we switched the cost per result goal to 200, and that was 14th of February switched it. And as you can see, the volume is going down, but if you look at the cost per result, it's starting to stabilize more. So it's getting a bit lower. Some days we're getting below 200, some days it's slightly above, and some days it's a lot below. So this is how the bid strategy works. It's not going to get you the desired cost per result every day. So if you look at short-term time periods, you're not going to be super satisfied with it, but you need to look at longer time periods, like 1 week minimum, because the algorithm needs time to average you out and get you to that goal. So that's how the cost per result goal works. Now, the reason why I like it so much is because when you're starting to scale, the higher daily budget you have, the higher risk you have of wasting a lot more money if you have a day where the campaign spends all your budget, but you're not getting almost any results. So that's why I think it's very risky to go with highest volume when you're scaling. Instead, what I like to do is using cost per result goal, because as you're scaling, if the campaign doesn't think it can get you the desired CPA, then it's just not going to spend all of your daily budget. The only risk is that you're not spending as much money as you want, instead of spending it and losing it. So I think that's a much better situation to be in, and that's why I like this bid strategy so much. Now, if you don't get the campaign to spend, what I would recommend doing is just increasing your cost per result goal. So increasing your CPA goal. So you can do that in a few increments and figure out how high you have to go before the campaign starts spending your money. And then once you get some momentum and the results start to stabilize, you can try to, by a few steps, take it back down to where you ideally want it to be. But it's still a better strategy than just going with highest volume, in my opinion. So if you're unsure how to calculate and figure out where to set your cost per result goal, the amount when you're starting out, I've made this calculator right here that you can use. So if you want to get a hold of this, just click the link in the description of this video, put in your email, and I'll send it to you. So this one is fairly simply set up. So you can just put in your numbers, and on the right side here, you will have CPA targets, which is cost per acquisition. This is the same target that you use to put into your campaign for the cost per result goal. Now, if you're optimizing for highest value instead of highest volume, instead of a CPA goal or a cost per result goal, you will see that you can select a ROAS goal. So the same thing applies there. So then you will just use one of these numbers depending on how aggressively or conservatively you want to scale. So you put in your cost of goods sold as a percentage of your average price across all your SKUs. Put in your credit card fees or merchant fees, shipping cost, fulfillment cost, and then you will have an average amount margin or average gross profit, which will be used to calculate what your target should be. So let's say you want to scale fairly aggressively. You want the campaign to spend, but you still don't want to use highest volume. Then I would go with the aggressive targets. In this case, this example right here, you would use 70 USD as your goal. Now, if you want to be a bit radical, but you don't want to be too aggressive, you go 66. And if you want to be very conservative and be very profit focused, then you want to go 44. So this one is optimized mostly for e-commerce. That's why I have the average order value and the customer lifetime value section to put in here. If you have a different business model and you don't know these numbers, then you can make some estimates of how much the customer is worth to you. So make sure you click the link in the description of this video if you want to get a hold of this. So now I'm going to show you how to put this into the campaign. So as an example, let's say we want to go aggressively. So I'll just copy this number and go back into the campaign. And then you go to the ad set and you just paste it in here. So after you put publish now, make sure you monitor the campaign, see how it's working. And if it's not spending, you might need to increase it a bit. If you're not profitable, it's spending a lot, but you're not profitable, you might need to put it down a little bit further. So you just need to play around with this and figure out the exact target to start out with. But over time, you will definitely get a better feel for it and you will know how to use it more. Now, a few things you need to be mindful of when you're using this bid strategy is that if not all of your sales or conversions are being tracked, or at least not credited back to the campaign. In other words, if you see that you're getting more sales than what is appearing in your Facebook Ads Manager report, then what you might need to do is to increase it to make up for that so that the campaign is still spending. So in other words, if you're seeing that the results are pretty good, but because of the bid strategy you have, the campaign is not willing to spend more, what you need to do then is just look at your backend data, try to figure out an average of how many % of your sales are not generally being tracked, and then increase your cost per result goal by the same percentage. And that's how you can make it continue to spend without switching to highest volume. And by doing it that way, you can still bypass that issue and you can continue to scale profitably without the campaign stopping up and not spending money because not all the sales are being tracked. Now, another big reason why I like to use this bid strategy is because it allows you to experience what I call the Evergreen effect. The Evergreen effect is something that I've been referring to in the past in some of my older videos. And that generally happens when you run a campaign for a very long time period and you keep running with some of the same variables over a longer time period. You start to collect data on those variables. The campaign becomes smarter and smarter, and you're stacking social engagement on the ad level. You get all the comments and all the likes, it all starting to stack, and all of a sudden you might have hundreds of comments and likes on your ads. That's going to help the click-through rate, and all the data that the ad set and the campaign has been getting over time is going to help you get better targeting as well. Now, if you start a campaign, scale the budget, and then turn it off because the profitability drops, and then turn it back on later because you want to try again, and you do all of these drastic changes all the time, you'll never experience the evergreen effect. You need a month, a few months before you start to experience this, dependent on your budget level, of course. And by using this bid strategy, instead of turning it off, you can just decrease the cost per result goal or increase the ROAS goal to make the campaign spend less, but it's still active. You still allow it to go out there and try to get your conversions at the profitability that you want. Now, if we go back to the example campaign that we started setting up earlier, and you go to the ad set level and you scroll back down to bid strategy, you can click edit. And under here, you can see something called the bid cap. Now, the main difference between these two is that with the cost per result goal, the algorithm tries to average your results out to hit your goal on a longer time horizon. But with the bid cap, it's trying to hit that amount that you put into it as the cap every day on a short-term basis. Now, the bid cap can work amazingly for some businesses, but something you need to be mindful of is that you need a lot of data on a consistent basis in order to get it to work. In other words, you need to get a lot of sales or conversions every day if you want it to run consistently and not stop spending your daily budget. Another thing you need to be mindful of is that it generally works better if you have a really high daily budget, because it's very effective at finding the good days and spending a lot of money on those days where you can get a lot of conversions at your desired cost per result. And on the bad days, what is really amazing about BidCap is that it's probably not going to spend nearly as much money. It's probably going to scale down a lot. So by using BidCap, the budget is spread much more effectively across the different days, depending on the potential that the algorithm sees on these different days. So hopefully by now you have a better understanding of how you can use these different bid strategies. It's not a lot of advertisers that are aware about these. So if you watch the video all the way to the end, you probably have a nice competitive advantage in terms of understanding these and hopefully actually applying them to your business and scaling profitably. As I already mentioned in the video, if you want to get access to the ROAS and CPA calculator, you can click the link in the description of this video and I'll send you that to your inbox. And if you like the video and want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe and like. And also, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll answer each and every one of them in as much detail as possible. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.